Hello everyone, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I hope all of you are doing good. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you to the live stream. And if you're watching the live stream for the very first time, please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and please make sure to press the like button and keep the notifications on for this channel. So whenever a new video is being posted, you are being notified immediately. Also, if you're not following me over Twitter, 𝗟𝘅𝗲𝗃, this is my Twitter handle. And you can see that I occasionally post updates and sometimes calls also over my Twitter account. Uh, so yeah, if you're not following me over Twitter, 𝗟𝘅𝗲𝗃, this is my Twitter handle. And if you would like to receive more organized updates and calls, then you can always join the Discord server. The link you can find in the description of this video. In fact, you would find all the links, the link to the Twitter account, the link to the Discord server, and any other useful links in the description of this live stream. So please make sure to join the Discord server, like this live stream, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and make sure to follow me over Twitter. We occasionally organize giveaways and few other important stuff, competitions, etc. over my Twitter account also. So yeah, please make sure that you are following 𝗟𝘅𝗲𝗃, this Twitter handle. Uh, Once again, happy to see you guys joining the stream. We are doing this live stream, I guess, after 1 month. There was a small break. I was on holiday, so I wasn't really able to do the live stream. But yeah, since I've come back already, so all of these things are going to continue in the very same manner. We're going to have 1 or 2 live streams, market updates, every week regularly. So yeah, make sure to show some love. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure to like the live stream. Okay, so let's start the stream. And the first chart that we are going to look at is going to be the USDT dominance chart. We are not going to start with the Bitcoin chart because as soon as I would be done explaining the USDT dominance chart, you know, uh, it would automatically make sense as to what exactly is going to happen with the Bitcoin chart. For those of you who don't know, Bitcoin and the USDT dominance, they are basically negatively or inversely correlated with each other, which means if one goes down, the other one would go up. And if one goes up, the other one would go down. Simple as that. So you can see that USDT dominance had this rejection at this resistance level. First of all, we have a very small range in which USDT dominance is trading right now. Uh, if I would want to draw a small support, although this is a 4-hour time frame chart, but if you would drop to the smaller time frame like 1 hour or 45 minutes, then you would notice that there is a small support present around here, right? Even if you don't draw this support, it's very obvious that there is this trend line support and price is bouncing off this trend line, right? So price had this rejection. We are trading under this major resistance level. If you just focus on the higher time frame, like the 4-hour time frame or even the higher time frame, 1 day or 12-hour, you would notice that this is the higher time frame resistance around 5.53%, and the next support is around 5.25%. Although in the smaller time frame, price definitely is sitting on support somewhere around here. But at the same time, if you would look at the higher time frame chart, it's simply just sitting in the middle of nowhere. And there is a high likelihood, there is a big possibility that eventually we would have a break below this trend line. We know this thing about trend lines, that whenever price is bouncing off the trend line, it would eventually break below the trend line. It's going to be a very impulsive break. And whenever price, be it any other chart, it's not just about USDT dominance, it could just be any other chart. It's a rule about technical analysis, right? So whenever price is getting rejected at the trend line, let's suppose it's the opposite kind of trend line, which looks something like this, then eventually it would have a break above the trend line. Sooner or later, that's going to happen, right? So USDT dominance right now, you can see that if I go to the 12-hour time frame chart, you can notice that we had the first bounce of this trend line, we had the second bounce, then we had this third bounce, fourth bounce, fifth bounce, and then these 1 or 2 smaller bounces, which means that price is, although bouncing off this trend line, we are trading in a very narrow range, And whenever price is confined, whenever price is trading in a very narrow range, volatility usually happens. And you can see that this is the support that we are trading on, this trend line right here. And then we have this resistance right here. And from our understanding of uh, trend lines, we know this thing, that there is a greater possibility that price eventually, probably in the next few hours, soon after the US market opens in the next 20 minutes, in the next few hours, you would see price breaking below this level, breaking below this trend line. And that's where the next support level is, around 5.23%. Although the Bitcoin chart and the USDT dominance chart, they are not always perfectly synced with each other, which means that if Bitcoin drops 3%, ideally speaking, that should be happening. Like if Bitcoin drops 3%, USDT dominance should rise or increase 3%. And if Bitcoin increases 3%, USDT dominance should be decreasing 3%. But that's an ideal case scenario. Theoretically speaking, that should be happening. But in the real world, on the actual charts, that does not happen, right? So there could be a small discrepancy, but it usually provides you a very good amount of information. For example, if USDT dominance has to drop 3% almost, that's where the next support level is. You can expect Bitcoin to at least increase 3%. Once again, they're not perfectly synced with each other. This one could go up 2.8%, 2.9%. There could be a small difference, but ideally speaking, this one should also go up 2.9%, 3%. And if we measure it, we notice that the next resistance level for Bitcoin on the Bitcoin chart, it's somewhere around 88,500, 88,400. And this is exactly what USDT dominance chart is also telling us, right? And we are just looking at the horizontal levels. We have not started looking at the dynamic levels. We are only talking about the horizontal support and resistance levels as of now. So in terms of horizontal support and resistance levels, that's where the next support on the USDT dominance chart is 5.24%, which means that if we start breaking below this trend line, and why do I say that we could be breaking below this trend line in the next few hours? That's because nobody would be able to tell you for sure with 100% certainty that if price is about to break below the trend line or break above the trend line at this particular moment, right? Or in the next few hours, in the next few days. That's because, sometimes price would just continue bouncing off the trend line for a longer period, and sometimes after three bounces, it would simply just break below. The reason why I'm mentioning three bounces or three rejections is because at least three possible point of contacts are necessary to confirm the authenticity of a trend line. So only if you have three bounces or three rejections, only then you would say that, okay, this is a valid trend line. It's not like if you have like two bounces or two rejections and you would draw the trend line. No, it's not like that. So now that we have like three or four bounces off this trend line, we can definitely draw the trend line like this. But at the same time, there is only one way using which you would be able to tell, not with 100% certainty, obviously, that maybe price at this point in time or in the next few hours is about to break above or below the trend line. And that is by looking at the intensity of the bounces or the intensity of the rejections. And in this case, since we are talking about the bounces, you can notice that the first bounce, it was a good one. The second one was even bigger. This was third one, although price did not perfectly bounce off the trend line. If you consider this the third one, you can notice that this third one was bigger than the second one. The second one was bigger than the first one. But if you notice this bounce right here, or then the next bounce, or then the next bounce, you notice that they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay. Obviously, USDT dominance is not the chart that you can trade in real time. It's an index, right? But if it was any tradable chart, like if it was Bitcoin chart or Ethereum chart or any other chart, then the logic you would have presented would have been that since price has been bouncing off this trend line, for has already done that like 5, 6, 7, 8 times, 4 times, 3 times, the buyers, they are slowly losing their interest, right? So maybe the second time price came back down to this region, maybe there were 100 buyers. The third time, maybe there were only 50 buyers. The fourth time, maybe there were only 20 buyers. The fifth time, maybe there are only 5 to 6 buyers, which means that if we consider that the total number of market participants is same, which let's suppose is 100, the first time the majority number of market participants, they were buyers, and now slowly the numbers of buyers have reduced and the number of sellers are increasing, which means that sellers, they're slowly outpacing the number of buyers, which means that the buyers, they're no longer interested in buying at this trend line, and that's why the bounces you are seeing are getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And there is a high likelihood that at some point in time in the near future, in the next few hours, you are about to see price breaking below this trend line, right? This logic you can always present whenever you are looking at the trend lines. You can always look at the intensity of bounces. The same logic applies to the rejections also. If the rejections, they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller, then you know that, okay, the sellers, they're no longer interested in selling at this trend line. So very soon price is about to break below the trend line. So in this case, we are already trading in a very narrow range, and this is the kind of market you would usually want to avoid, because whenever price is trading in a very narrow range, there is always a greater possibility that a bigger move is about to happen. And if you find yourself on the wrong side of it, if you find yourself trading on the wrong side of the market, then there are chances that you would be caught up with the volatility part, right? So in this situation, we are getting rejected at this resistance right here. We are bouncing off this trend line, but the way things are looking, there is a high likelihood that eventually we would break below the trend line, and then we would fall back down to this higher time frame support around 5.2%. And this level, it's perfectly synchronized with this higher time frame resistance around 88.5k. And I can tell you that a lot many people have been planning to take short positions around 88.5k. So there is a greater likelihood, there are chances that you are going to see some kind of reaction around here. Recently I have been, mentioning the same thing in some of my market updates also. Recently I've completely stopped looking at the Bitcoin chart. I've been looking more often at the USDT dominance chart, because Bitcoin chart, it's completely noisy in my opinion, especially during the days when market is consolidating or trading in a very narrow range. That's when you should be looking at alternatives, right? That's when you should be looking at the charts that are negatively or inversely correlated with any of the charts that you are looking at. Luckily, with Bitcoin, you have multiple options. You have USDT dominance chart, you have BTC USDT.3L chart, BTC USDT.3S chart, BTC USDT.5L, BTC USDT.5S. So there are multiple different options. But USDT dominance, in my opinion, it usually gives you a very nice picture. And in this case, you can see that USDT dominance has been always respecting the levels. Same is not the case with Bitcoin. For example, Bitcoin did not have a reaction at this you did not have a nice bounce at this support level. Then we had a break below the support level, flipped it into a resistance, but we had no rejection at this resistance level. Similarly, we had no rejection at this resistance level around here. Obviously, you can simply just call it a deviation move. But yeah, the fact is there that, price failed to react at this important level. So that's why, in these kind of situations, you can always rely on the USDT dominance chart. And just like I mentioned earlier also, I have been, saying the same thing in my updates, that you should be focusing more on the USDT dominance chart if you're trying to catch any move on the Bitcoin chart, right? But, coming back to, the discussion about where you should be taking any long positions. Obviously, with short positions, I would say that 88.5k, if you're looking for any short positions, I would not suggest taking a short position on Bitcoin right now, because even if it goes back up to this resistance level, you can see that there have been multiple rejections at this resistance level, right? And you know the rule, the first retest is always your single best opportunity to take a long or a short position. By the time you have like third, fourth, or fifth retest, the chances of winning in that particular situation are significantly reduced, right? So if we look at the USDT dominance chart, we have a similar kind of situation. We had the first bounce off this level. This is going to be the second reaction if it happens at this level. But when you look at the USDT dominance chart, you notice that there is a small deviation move around here. You cannot really call it a perfect deviation, because for a perfect deviation, you need to have a bigger, deeper move below a support level or above a resistance level, right? But let's say that this is a deviation move, and still this is going to be the second retest, which means that this still is an acceptable situation. Although the first retest, it is always your single best opportunity to take a long or a short trade. By the time you have second retest or third retest, the chances are, significantly reduced. But the second retest, it's still an acceptable kind of situation, right? So in this situation, you can see that if price drops back down to this level, it would be considered as a deviation retest. And if you go and watch some of my previous live streams, you would know how important the concept of deviation really is. I usually trade based on deviation moves, not just on the Bitcoin chart or any major market cap coins. I do that almost with any of these other smaller mid market cap coins also, because it's a valid concept. It's not something like which is not based on proper logic. It's it usually I have anyways, I have explained the concept of deviation in some of my previous live streams also. So if you guys are interested to know more about that, you can simply just go and watch those live streams. It's a very powerful concept, right? So this could still be considered as a deviation move and the second retest. And if we look at some of the dynamic lines, I'll be talking about the dynamic lines part later on also. But if you look at the dynamic lines, you can notice that we have, I guess this one is MTF200. Yeah, this one is MTF200 EMA. And this one is, I guess, ELD-VWAP, although I'm not completely sure. Yeah, this one is ELD-VWAP. So if you just completely ignore the rest of these dynamic lines, you would notice that these two important dynamic lines, price most of the times is reacting to these levels. The first one is MTF200 EMA, one of my most favorite indicator, and the second one is the ELD-VWAP. So if I just turn off the rest of these dynamic lines, the only two we are focusing on for now is the ELD-VWAP, this red one right here, and the purple one, which is MTF200 EMA. So you have a horizontal support. Okay, this is going to be the second retest of this horizontal support. Then you have most likely a deviation move also, a deviation retest around here. Then you have MTF200 EMA, and then you have ELD-VWAP, which means that until and unless something really changes in terms of fundamentals, we know that market recently has been reacting very much to the macroeconomic news events, like news related to tariffs and all that. But if we just keep aside all of that, if we just believe that nothing of that sort is going to happen, then most likely you would see some kind of reaction around here. Most likely you are going to see some kind of bounce around here. And we know the trend line strategy, price would break below the trend line, then it would fall back into some higher time frame support. Then it would go back up, it would give a bearish retest at the trend line. So whenever this bounce happens, you would have a nice opportunity. You can simply just set an alert around this level. If you are in the Discord server, I would definitely be sharing the market updates. I regularly share market updates in my channel as soon as something changes, as soon as something changes on the charts. But you can expect a bounce around here, which means you would have a decent opportunity to take a short position on Bitcoin somewhere around here. Now, if you're solely focused on the Bitcoin chart, then you would say that most likely this is going to be the third retest. So, maybe I should simply just avoid taking this short trade. But that's why I'm suggesting you to not just look at the Bitcoin chart, but alternatively focus on the USDT dominance chart, which is providing you a much clearer picture, in my opinion. And that chart is telling you that this reaction most likely is going to happen. Bounce is going to happen around here, because this is what the trend line entry model also is. You cannot trade when price is sitting on the trend line. You would wait for price to break below the trend line and fall back into some higher time frame support. That's when you can take a long trade. Obviously, a long on USDT dominance is not possible. It simply just means that you can take a short trade on the Bitcoin chart. And when price would bounce off that trend line, you can simply just wait for it to go back up and give a nice bearish retest at that trend line. And whenever that bearish retest happens, chances are that price would be reacting at this level, at this trend line. It would drop after that reaction, and that's when you can simply just take a long position on Bitcoin. But anyways, this price has failed to react at this level most of the times, but this still is a support. There is still a support around 81,000, 82,000, which means that if price drops down to this level, you can always build a long position around 82,000, 83,000. And same is true for any altcoin positions also. If you're planning to take any altcoin positions, any short positions, if you are following me in the Discord server, you would know that we have been mostly focusing on short positions. Almost 90% of my positions in the past 2 months have been short positions. And we have been avoiding taking any long positions, right? So same is true for any altcoin positions also. If you are planning to enter any new short positions, wait for price to go back up to 𝗖𝗵𝗱𝗁𝗃. If you're planning for any long positions, then I would not recommend doing so right now, because price right now is sitting in the middle of nowhere. No matter how sure you are, no matter how certain you are that price is about to go up from here, price is about to go up to 88,000, 89,000, you should still not be going long in the middle of nowhere. This is a question that I get asked a lot many times. Even for example, we have two short positions running right now. One is on this coin called CSPR. This one we took yesterday. By the way, we have a long position also, and I would explain to you why exactly we took this long position. The reason why I have been avoiding taking any long positions is because the overall market trend, it's negative. The overall market trend, it's majorly bearish. That's why I've been completely avoiding taking any long positions, especially on the big market cap coins like Solana, like Doge, because market has been, let me explain to you, what exactly I'm trying to say. uh, let's suppose that price is moving in an uptrend. It's making waves like this. You have impulsive wave, corrective wave, impulsive, corrective, impulsive, corrective, impulsive. Now, a mistake that most people do is that, when price is moving in an uptrend, without having any understanding of what a trend is, how exactly an uptrend looks like, how exactly a downtrend looks like, they would simply just try to enter into any random long or short positions. Okay, so that's why an external bias is so important. And even in my mentorship also, I have a complete course on that. I have a complete module on that, in which I teach people how to develop an external bias. This is very important. This is extremely important. And that's where the most people, they actually fail to realize that, what side of the market they should be trading. Okay, no matter how good the setup is, no matter if price is sitting at the resistance level and the trend is positive, the overall market trend is positive, your short position on any altcoin, no matter how good the setup is, it's not gonna work. But anyways, coming back to this topic about the trend part, let's suppose price is making higher highs and higher lows, and you have absolutely no understanding of what a trend looks like, if it's an uptrend or if it's a downtrend, and you just spotted a resistance level somewhere around here. You just spotted a resistance around here, and now you are about to enter into a short position. You waited for a confirmation, and then you said that, okay, let's take a short position around here, place my stop loss above this high right here, and let's just wait for price to go down. Now you can imagine that if you are entering into a short position, even right at the top of this move, or maybe somewhere in the middle, you would only be able to catch this small wave right here. Okay, this small wave, which is basically corrective wave. And that's why it's very important that you trade in the direction of the trend. And in order to do that, you should be able to identify a trend, right? Which means that instead of, if price is moving in an uptrend, instead of taking a short trade, which is going to give you a very pathetic RR, a very pathetic risk to reward ratio, even if you are entering right at the top, you wouldn't really be able to catch a bigger move. You should be focusing on taking a long trade, which means even if you enter somewhere in the middle of the trend, even if you fail to realize early that this is an uptrend and you enter somewhere in the middle, you would still have a decent risk to reward ratio, because this is the definition of an uptrend, right? In an uptrend, the impulsive wave is going to be towards upside, and it's going to be bigger in length in comparison to the corrective wave. Similar is the case with the downtrend also. In a downtrend, let's suppose if I just flip this visual, you can see that that's how basically a downtrend is going to look like. So a mistake that most people have been doing for the past 1 or 2 months, okay, scalps are fine, but if you're planning to open any swing positions, then you can imagine what's going to happen. Because for swing positions, you cannot have a 1% stop loss, 0.5% stop loss, 2% stop loss. With swing positions, it's very natural that you are going to let price, you're going to give some room to price, you're going to let your position run for quite some time. You are not going to let your position be stopped out on these smaller price swings, which means that you may have, let's suppose, a 7%, 8% stop loss. And you are taking a long position in a downtrend. And this is exactly the mistake that people have been doing for the past 1 or 2 months. No matter what chart you would open, almost 99.99% of them, you look at the total 2 chart, you look at the others.d chart, you look at the Bitcoin chart, you look at the Ethereum chart, you look at the Doge chart, you would notice that all of them on the higher time frame, on the daily time frame, have been making lower lows and lower highs. Okay, they have been trading in a major downtrend, which means that instead of trying to catch these long positions, instead of risking anything on these long positions, why not simply just risk on short positions? Because with long positions, you would always have a significant amount of risk. You are not trading in the direction of the trend, and there are chances that no matter how good the setup is, price would most of the times fail to react at the support level, which means that all you have to do is identify a trend. And let me tell you a secret, right? uh, when you are trading in the direction of the trend, no matter how bad the setup is, sometimes because you are trading in the direction of the trend and market eventually has to go down, uh, it would eventually save you. No matter how pathetically you have drawn the support or resistance level, no matter if you don't have a very clear understanding of the market, just because you are trading in the direction of the trend, it's going to save you most of the times. And that's why, once again, I would emphasize upon this thing that it's very important to trade in the direction of the trend. And because market for the past 2-3 months has been trading in a downtrend, has been going in a downtrend, so short positions, you would have noticed that most of the times they work. No matter, you know, I, I, I just cannot even imagine, keeping a long position open in these kind of market situations for more than 2-3 days. It's absolutely risky. But with short positions, for those of you who are in the Discord, you would know that we had a short position on RD, we had a short position on FXS, we had a short position on ENS, we had a short position on TIA, we had so many other short positions. And some of these short positions we had open for like, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. The reason was even for a week also, and they were trading at the risk. They were at risk. We had not moved stop loss to break even for most of these positions. The reason was because I knew that okay, the market is trading in a downtrend. These positions, they are at resistance. It's going to be very difficult. It would take an extraordinary amount of effort. Obviously there are always individual performers. People always, drop this question that how do you make money during a bear market? Obviously you can take a short position, and the second answer is that even during the bear market, it's not like everything would just be going down. There would obviously be these price swings. Price is always moving in the form of waves, right? There would always be, even in a bear market, there are always going to be these retracement waves which are going to be towards upside. And secondly, there are always going to be individual performers, which means that every now and then, even during the peak of the bear market back in 2022, we had individual performers. Every now and then, every single day, you would wake up and you would see that okay, this coin, it's up 80%, 60%, 70%. All you have to do is simply just try to catch one of these moves. Or alternatively, you can simply just enter into short position. So it's not that difficult. It's not a rocket science, right? So because market has been going in a downtrend, that's why I have been comfortable taking short positions. And this long position, by the way, this long position we took after quite some time. This one was on gas. And the reason I took this long position once again, or the reason why I'm explaining this example, is because this was an individual performer. You can see that gas had an extraordinary move. It had a break above this daily time frame resistance level, right? And it had an extraordinary move. While the whole market was, kind of relatively stable, or was going down, or was moving sideways, gas had this extraordinary move. It had this first candle, which was around a candle of around a 25% candle, and then we had another 54% move towards upside, right? Which basically means that, and similar was the case with ARK also. Just yesterday I was planning to take two long positions. One was on ARK and the second one was on gas. We took this long position. ARK, unfortunately, it did not drop back down to this level. Okay. uh I would have drawn support like this also. This would have been a valid support level, but I chose to draw it like this, slightly lower than this level, because 1 day 12 period exponential moving average and 4-hour quarterly VWAP was present around here. And secondly, if you would draw the fib level, 61%, 65% levels were present around here. And when you are entering into a swing position, these smaller these smaller moves could sometimes mean 4%, 5%. So that's why you have to plan your entry very carefully. Most people think that I'm a full-time trader. I spend almost 16 to 17 hours every single day looking at these charts. And even with all of this effort that I put into my work, hardly, we are able to find one or two good setups per day. Okay, and sometimes you don't even find any good setup for consecutively for like 24 48 hours, because it's a difficult job, right? You cannot just simply open up your watch list. And by the way, I'm not just talking about one or two coins in my watch list. I'm talking about almost 400 plus pairs that are available for future trading on Binance or on Bybit or on BLOFIN. BLOFIN is the exchange that I'm using most of the time. So yeah, it's a difficult kind of thing to do, because you have to plan your entry very carefully. And even after all of this careful analysis and all those things, sometimes you would simply just fail, right? The setup is not going to work in your favor. But anyways, I was talking about the individual performers thing. You would notice that ARK and gas, both of these coins had an extraordinary move towards upside, and that's why I was planning to enter into these long positions. And apart from that, you just need to focus on short positions. Simply just draw higher time frame resistance. Almost 90% of these coins have already broken below their higher time frame resistance levels. All you have to do is just go to the higher time frames, daily time frame charts, draw the resistance levels, and wait for price to go back up to these resistance levels, and simply just take these short positions. One example was ENA. Okay, you can notice that this was a higher time frame resistance level. This coin is already down almost 13%, 12%. We have taken first TP of this short position. You can notice that this is the higher time frame resistance level, right? Price had a move up to this resistance, and then we had a drop. Similar was the case with TIA also. TIA has been recovering a little bit, but we had a move of almost 6%, 7%. But anyways, you got the idea what I'm talking about. Uh, with the individual performers, you can always trade against the direction of the overall market trend. You can, or if the whole market is red, even if the overall market is red, and you have an individual performer, you can always trade against the direction of the overall market. But with the rest of these coins, you don't have that option, you don't have that luxury. You would always have to trade in the direction of the trend. But anyways, if any one of you would want to enter into any of these two short positions, CSPR, this short position, and order, these two short positions, order we took almost like I guess an hour or two ago, both of these short positions are running at risk, which means that we have not moved stop loss to break even on any of these two short positions. I'm waiting for any significant moves. This one is trading above 4-hour quarterly VWAP. A lot many of you asked me that why CSPR is showing some signs of life. The reason is because it's trading above this 4-hour quarterly VWAP, right? Same is the case with order. Order would take some time to give up because it's trading above this trend line. Same is the case with USDT dominance also. It's trading above the trend line, and it has started to break below. And in my opinion, it's only a matter of time. In the next few hours, we are going to see Bitcoin at 88.5K, and that's when we would enter into a few more short positions. Okay, it's going to be a risky bet, but we would have to do that. Okay, so that's all about Bitcoin USDT dominance. Now let's take a look at 𝗏𝗏𝗲, a very important chart, and surprisingly, 𝗏𝗏𝗲 failed to hold above this level. And let me show you how exactly deviation looks like. If you would go to my Twitter account and go back and read this update on 𝗏𝗏𝗲, I guess I shared a week ago, in which I'm talking about this deviation move, right? This was a higher time frame support on 𝗏𝗏𝗲. You can notice that back on 3rd of March, back on 3rd of Feb, I guess, yeah, 3rd of Feb, we had this wick above this level. We had a wick at this level, wick at this support level. Then we had price breaking below this level back on 7th of April, right? Then we had this deviation move, and in that update I clearly mentioned that at that time price was trading somewhere around 7.95%. I clearly mentioned this thing, that because it's a deviation move, the deviation retest is going to be a very good opportunity to build any long positions on altcoins. Now, I'm not saying that my analysis was correct. I'm not trying to glorify my analysis. All I'm trying to explain is the importance of deviation and deviation retest, and how powerful of a concept it actually is. Okay, just to give you a brief overview of why exactly deviations work. Obviously you cannot apply it on the 𝗏𝗏𝗲 chart because you cannot trade it, but the logic would remain the same on any of these other charts. Let's suppose that this is a support level, and that this is a higher time frame support. A lot many people, they would try to take long positions at this higher time frame support, right? Price would break below this level, all these long positions, they would get stopped out, they would be liquidated, people would be panic closing their long positions. As soon as they would see price breaking below this level, breaking below the support level, they would immediately switch their bias, because remember this thing, almost 90% of the traders out there, they are breakout traders. Very few of the people out there who are trading these markets, they are retest traders like me, because people sometimes they don't really have the patience to be um, to wait for the retest part. Even at certain occasions, past few trades that I have taken, for example, the CSPR trade we took yesterday, that was a breakout trade. I guess order also to some extent was a breakout trade, but yeah, you would need a lot of patience to be a retest traders. Sometimes people just don't wait for these kind of things and they would immediately jump into the breakout trades. But anyways, you know a lot many people who were trading, let's suppose this chart, any XYZ chart, they saw price breaking below the support level and they would immediately try to jump into short positions because price has already started to break below this important support level. They saw one 4-hour candle close, they saw the second 4-hour candle close, and they thought that okay, this price has already lost this higher time frame support, so it's much better to enter into short position on this particular chart. Now what happened was that price had simply just a break above this level, and it simply just turned into a fake out move or a deviation move, whatever you would like to call it. I would not go into the details of that because I think I already have explained it during the previous live streams also. But all these short positions, they would be stuck around here because we know that people usually play without stop losses. They would not want to play with stop losses. They would not want to accept the losses, and they would simply just continue to hold their position. And now prices started to move back up. And after some time in this situation, the retest happened immediately, but most of the times the retest takes some time to happen. It could happen after a few days, after a few hours, but in this situation the retest happened immediately. But when price would go back down to this level once again, what would happen is that all those people who had their short positions opened around here, they would try to exit their short positions. And that's why the deviation retest works most of the time. Same logic you can apply to the resistance deviation also. In this case, this is a deviation below the support level. So all these short positions, all those breakout traders who opened short positions because price was breaking below the support level are now stuck in their short positions. And once again, as soon as price gives back a retest at this level, because they have been suffering for quite some time, in this situation the suffering was not big enough, but most of the times price would take some time to give the deviation retest. All these people, they will try to exit their short positions, and we know that whenever the short positions are being closed, it simply just means that buying is taking place. And not just buying is taking place because of short positions being closed, but at the same time retest traders like me, they would enter into long positions. Deviation retest traders, they would enter into long positions, and any other traders who noticed this opportunity, they would enter into long positions. So now you have buying pressure coming in because short positions are being closed. At the same time, you have buying pressure coming in because people are entering into new long positions, and that's why the deviation retest works most of the times. You can apply the same logic to the deviation retest of resistance also. But anyways, the point here is that this deviation retest happened, and just 2 days ago when this whole drop happened, by the way, this _others.d, it's a market cap of market cap of low market cap and mid market cap altcoins. It's basically the market cap of crypto excluding the top 10 cryptocurrencies, right? So it basically represents mid market cap and low market cap coins. And this major drop happened basically because of because OM lost its $6 billion market cap, if I'm not wrong. What was the market? Not exactly $6 billion, but I'm not sure about the market cap. But it lost almost 80 to 90% of its market cap just in a matter of few hours, and that's why some people pointed out that others.d also dropped immediately. But anyways, I have been pointing out this from quite some time that whenever others.d goes back up to this resistance level, because this was a very important support level. You can see that price was holding above this level since February, right? And after 8 to 9 bounces, we finally had a break below this level. And the phrase, the first retest always your single best opportunity to take a long or a short position. And the reason why I was pointing out this retest again and again in my updates, even if you would just go and read updates from the last 3-4 days, you would notice that I was clearly mentioning that as soon as you get the opportunity, when the 𝗍𝗏𝗲 chart gives a retest at this resistance level, immediately enter into any short positions on altcoins. Luckily, for the bulls, we have not seen a major drop. I was pointing out a similar kind of thing, when this retest was happening. And at that time, we were in, I guess, 4 to 5 short positions. And unfortunately, I was on vacations and I was not able to enter into more short positions. But even at that time, I was pointing out that whenever this retest happens, it's going to be a very good opportunity to enter into short positions, because, this was a deviation. This was a retest of the resistance, right? 𝗍𝗏𝗲 is retesting the resistance. It means that it would drop eventually, and altcoins are also going to suffer. At that time, the drop was 40%, 50% on most of these altcoins, because at that time, Bitcoin also started dropping. If you remember, the tariffs drama and all those things were happening at that time. In this situation, luckily for bulls, because Bitcoin was holding stable around 84,000, 85,000, even started increasing, even though 𝗍𝗏𝗲 was going down. So you did not have that kind of situation in which altcoins would drop, usually 40%, 50%. That was a good thing for bulls. But 𝗍𝗏𝗲 has now started to break below another very important support level, and there cannot be two deviations in a row. You cannot really say that this second move is also going to be a deviation. Most likely this one is going to be a complete loss of this support level. Most likely this is going to be a complete flip of this level from support into resistance, which means that altcoins are really going to suffer a lot. Even if we see $1,500 drop in Bitcoin, from this point onwards. And that's exactly why I have been waiting for price to go up to 88.5K, 89K. And we already have two short positions, CSPR, order, both of these short positions, they're running in profit. We have not moved stop loss to break even on these two short positions, but I'll be entering into more short positions once we go back up to 88.5K, 89K on the Bitcoin chart, because at that time, not only Bitcoin would be dropping in price, hopefully, but at the same time, a big thing would be happening on 𝗍𝗏𝗲 chart also, that it would be breaking below its important support level, and most likely it's going to give a retest at this important resistance level. Once this level has been completely flipped, it has not been flipped as of yet, because in order for a level to be flipped, you need to wait for the consolidation part, and consolidation is not something that you can rush on your own. Price would have to close at least like 6 to 7 4-hour candles below this support level, and only then you would be able to say that, okay, the complete flip of this level has already happened. But the overall conditions with altcoins, it's not looking good, to be very honest, because 𝗍𝗏𝗲 continues to break below, one support after the other. This was an important support that we lost back in Feb, right? Then we had this another important support that we lost in April, and now we are losing this another important support level, and the next support is around 7.40%, which means that things are definitely not looking good for 𝗍𝗏𝗲, right? Hopefully this reclaim does not happen. Hopefully the level completely gets flipped into resistance, because we are planning to enter into short position, so we definitely would not need to see any kind of deviation move around here. All those two deviations in a row, it's a very uncommon kind of thing. You can see that this was the first deviation, and the second deviation, once again, it's a very uncommon kind of thing. I don't really think that that's gonna happen, right? And by the way, 50 plus people are watching the live stream, and only 18 of you have liked it. I would really appreciate, if all of you are just able to press the subscribe button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and make sure to like the live stream. This motivates me a lot in order to, create, more content for you guys. Okay, so this is exactly what I was talking about. This is what exactly I was expecting. Bitcoin has started to move back up, and on the USDT dominance chart also, you can see that we have started to break below this important trend line right here. And most likely, once again, in the next 2 hours, you're going to see price back at 88.5K. Okay, let me just read through the chat. If you have any questions, please make sure to drop your question in the chat box, because I'll be responding to any of the questions in the chat box. I think making money in bear market is easy as compared to the bull market. I don't really agree with this. If you go, the only logic that you may have, in order to support this argument could be that because during the bull market, most of the times people are usually in a denial phase. Okay, this is the only logic, by the way, that may support your argument that making money in the bear market is relatively easier in comparison to the bull market, because usually after a long bear market, when price starts recovering, okay, people are usually in a phase of denial. They're very skeptical. They are usually, most of the times, people are they have huge losses usually due to the bear market, and nobody can be perfectly able to time the bottom. Same is the case with the top also to some extent, but you cannot really time the bottom. If you would go back and look at you know uh, news articles from back in 2022 and 2023, when market truly started recovering back in 2023, most people at that time were definitely in a phase of denial. They completely stopped believing in crypto, and it was only when Bitcoin had a break above 40,000, 50,000, only then people started taking things seriously. Only then you had the influx of new people joining the space. Only then you had new investors joining in. Only then you had the exposure from those people who had not invested into crypto before. So yeah, this is the only argument that you may have in your favor, that because people are usually in a phase of denial at the start of the bull market, during the middle phases of the bull market, so it's usually difficult to make money during the bull market. But with the bear market, it's usually easy, because once things start getting ugly, and humans usually, they are skeptical in nature, and usually when things start getting ugly, people usually get the impression, and that's why even during the bull market, every now and then you would get to hear these kind of statements that this is not the bull market is completely ended, this is the start of the bear market, the top is already in. It's a very common kind of thing, right? Every now and then you get to hear these kind of things, and that's why it's relatively easier, as per your opinion, to make money during the bear market. Mario is back. Yeah, that notification is basic. That notification sound is basically from Coin ANK, this website. Uh, the sound is basically from these notifications. Okay, any questions that you guys may have, please make sure to drop in the chat box. Brother, do you recommend some books for learning trading and markets behavior? Uh, I think I think you can just watch these live streams, or maybe follow any other uh, legitimate trader on Twitter, on YouTube, instead of reading books. Obviously, for trading psychology and for other related things, books are a great source. In terms of money management, in terms of wealth management, there are great books out there. But to learn trading, I don't really think that books, they usually provide you a very good medium, especially the kind of age that we are living in. Visual representation of everything, it's very important. If you had asked me this question 20, 30 years ago, obviously the answer would have been different. But I guess that if you are just wanting to learn about trading, any strategies or similar things, it's always good idea to rely on any YouTube channels. And Twitter is, by the way, very important, good source of information in my opinion. Whenever somebody would ask me this question about how exactly I learned about trading and all these things, I would say Twitter, because Twitter is once again a very important source of information. There are so many opinions being presented over there on Twitter, uh, that yes, you get confused at times being a beginner, but at the same time you get to analyze a thing from multiple different perspectives. So that's why it's very important to look at all of these Twitter posts, and follow the quality content, not just people who are shilling useless information, not things like that. People trying to predict tops and bottoms, not things like that. There are multiple quality Twitter accounts that regularly share quality information over Twitter. So yeah, it's very important to keep an eye on Twitter also. And if you would ask me that, uh, in comparison to books, is Twitter a great source of information, is a better source of information, I would definitely say yes. Because if you are reading a book, it's only giving you one side of the story. It's only going to tell you about the market from one specific perspective. But as soon as you would join the crypto Twitter space, you would notice that there are 10 different opinions being presented over there, which, usually helps you analyze the situation from, different perspectives. Can you please elaborate for leverage trading what time frame suits best because crypto is volatile? It really depends if you are, scalping, or if you are, swing trading, if you're day trading. Obviously, the time frame discussion is subjective, but since I'm a swing trader, I usually start from the 4 hour time frame chart, and then I go all the way up to daily, sometimes 3 day and the weekly time frame charts. Also, I'm never really usually looking at the smaller time frame charts like the 15 minutes, 30 minutes, because the lower time frame you go, more noisy things would become. The higher time frame you would go, a less noisy picture of the market you would have. And noise, in my opinion, it's you know sorry noise, in my opinion, this is not something that you should have in your trading analysis. Whenever the chart is noisy, you should always try to avoid looking at. And this is exactly why a lot many times people ask me to do analysis or give a trade on a particular coin, and I usually avoid doing that, because sometimes I would just open up a random chart and I would notice that the chart overall, it's noisy. It's not giving any respect to the levels, or the respect or the reaction that is being happening over there on the chart. It's not good enough. That's usually when I try to avoid looking at the chart. So yeah, it's very important to try to look at the higher time frame chart, especially if you're swing trading, starting from the 4 hour, going all the way up to daily 3 day time frame. Because the higher time frame, once again you go, the lesser amount of noise you have on the chart, and the clarity part is really really important. You should not be clouding your judgment. It's very important not to have noise in your analysis. Can we take a look at tau, please? Yeah, sure. I think I already, yeah, I was looking at tau just a few hours ago. This is not the perfect setup, but you can see that I already have an alert set around here. I'm expecting some kind of reaction around here in this region. So if a retest of 213, 214 happens, I'm planning to take a long position on tau. You can see that I already have an alert set around here. But the overall trend, you can see that I need not to do any analysis. The overall trend, it's obviously negative. Even if you would draw the resistance level, tau is really trading below this resistance level, important resistance level around 263. You can see that the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth rejection, this was a kind of deviation move, and this was a deviation retest. I wouldn't really want to draw support around here, and this is what exactly I've been trying to say throughout my live stream, that if price is moving in a downtrend, even if this is a good level, even if this is a support, taking a long position at this point may not really work. Okay, no matter how good the setup is, because the overall market trend, it has been negative. So that's why you should avoid taking any short positions, any long positions while the overall market trend, it's negative, it's bearish. This is something that you need to avoid. Any YouTuber recommendations? There is this very good YouTube channel that I would recommend to all of you guys. Make sure to subscribe to that YouTube channel. Absolutely, great source of information, in my opinion. The channel's name is 𝗟𝘅𝗏𝗏, and the guy, he is an absolute legend. And one of my admins, they would share the link in the chat box also. 𝗟𝘅𝗏𝗏. This is the name of the YouTube channel. This is what you need to follow. Make sure to subscribe to it and make sure to like all of his videos. Okay. Missed you a lot. So glad to have you back. Felt kind of. Winter was taken. Thank you so much. Winter was taken. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Gas is pumping Sherlock TP1 soon. I already have announced the TP1 on gas. If you took this long position, we already have taken TP1. I have not officially announced it, but I said that if you are in the position, I hope you took some TP. But as soon as the live stream ends, I would officially announce the first TP on gas. So yeah, this is where I'm planning to take the second TP, because if you would draw the Fib retracement levels from the start of impulsive wave to the end of impulsive wave, you would notice that 65-61% level is present somewhere around here. So the second TP is going to be around 3.4, 3.39 to 3.43. There was this question by one of the members. Let me respond to that one. It was something about the stop loss part. I guess it was by Prateek. Can you please just drop that question once again? I don't know how to follow you more, brother. Yeah, until and unless you're planning to do it physically. Next TP for ENA. No, we are not taking any TP for ENA right now. I'm just waiting for price to drop down to this level, 0.2833. The take profit levels for my charts, they're not random at all. They're not arbitrary. It's usually based on important dynamic levels. For example, you can see that CSPR, it is already down almost 5%. I have not taken any TP on this coin. The reason is because it's still trading above the 4-hour quarterly VWAP. So there is no point taking any TP if price is sitting on the support. The logic is not valid. And I would wait for price to break below this level, and only then I would be taking TP off this position. Similar is the case with order also. You can see that it's sitting above this trend line, and the logic is not valid as of now. I would only take TP off this position once price breaks below this important trend line. Okay, I would be sharing a few other short positions shortly. I'm just waiting for Bitcoin to go back up to 88,000. That's when I would start dropping a few more short positions for you guys. I was on a 1 month break, on a 30-day break. I was on vacations, so I missed you guys a lot. I missed trading a lot. Although I was taking a few trades, although I was dropping a few setups. I guess RD was a trade that we took almost like 18 to 20 setups we took during this 30-day break. But still, I missed looking at the markets. I still missed doing the analysis and all those things. I missed communicating with you guys. So once again, thank you so much for joining in. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure to do that. Make sure to join the Discord server. The link you can find in the description of this video. If you're not following me over Twitter, 𝗟𝘍𝗏𝗏, this is my Twitter handle. Give it a follow. Once again, thank you so much for joining in. Take care and have a great week ahead. I would try my best to have another live stream in this week. We are trying our best to manage the schedule and everything, but yeah, it usually takes effort for the live stream, and the same amount of effort you can put, the same amount of effort you can, utilize on looking at the charts and finding the trade. And this is yeah, that's what usually my priority is, to give the trades, to give as many good setups as I can. And that's why sometimes we are not able to have like 2 3 live streams every single week. But if you guys are interested, you can always let me know on Twitter, on the Discord server, and then maybe we can have like 2 3 live streams every week. Thank you so much, Titan. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care and have a great week ahead. See you guys soon.